What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, you ever notice, like, especially these days, that, anytime some report comes out of Congress or comes out of the DOJ or some report comes out, it's always a bombshell report. Yeah, well, we've got a bombshell report today, y'all. Check this out, y'all. House report recommends FBI investigation into Liz Cheney over alleged witness tampering while on the January 6th committee. Imagine that. Republicans finding a Republican guilty of witness tampering. This is just very, very fascinating, if you ask me. Very fascinating because, we've been poring over some of this stuff for the past few days. Donald Trump said they should be in jail, right? And hey, look, if you're going to destroy evidence and tamper with witnesses, hey, that's a crime. Now, do I think they need to go to jail for this? It depends on the severity of the witness tampering and the severity of the destruction of evidence, as a matter of fact. Now, we need to get a full-on detail about this evidence that was destroyed from the January 6th committee. I would love to know this, but you can't find any conclusive evidence of this. It's just a House Republican, an Oversight and Accountability Committee report. That's all it is. It's not conclusive. Not at least until we get the DOJ or, the FBI involved to fully investigate this out, because, the FBI has a lot more subpoena power than, the Oversight Committee does. I mean, for God's sakes, it's the Oversight Committee. They do have some subpoena power, but not near that. It doesn't have the weight behind it like the FBI. So when we get good old Kash Patel coming in, and we get some investigation into this, we're going to find out exactly what the January 6th committee did, because we know for a fact, we've seen the interviews of people, they hired a Hollywood director, of all people, to film the January 6th, to put all the January 6th committee together, the primetime committee hearing, right? To think that somebody would want to see a congressional committee hearing in primetime television. So you got to know the fact that they chose primetime television and it aired all over the corporate press, out of the mainstream news. Yeah, something's funny about this. And, the fact they didn't tell the whole story because, they act like we didn't see what was going on. We didn't know that there's a whole other side to the Capitol that was being filmed. Police waving people into the building, blah, blah, blah. You get it, right? We know that was all very, very biased, very, very one-sided, and we had a lot of questions. But hang on, if you asked questions about that, you were a crazy conspiracy theorist. Well, huh? Well, I'm just asking questions here. I'm not conspiracizing, for crying out loud. I just want to know what actually happened. What about this other side over here? Right? We saw news stories of people getting their charges just dismissed outright because there's video evidence of police letting these people in the building. Yeah. So, we've got questions about this. Let's get into this thing right quick. A new report released Tuesday from Rep. Barry Loudermilk and the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight states that former Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney should be investigated for possible criminal activity stemming from her work on the House Select Committee on January 6th. She is accused of colluding with a witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, who testified before the committee and was an aide to Mark Meadows, Chief of Staff. Based on the evidence obtained by the subcommittee, numerous federal laws were likely broken by Liz Cheney, the former vice chair of the January 6th Select Committee, and these violations should be investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Evidence uncovered by the subcommittee revealed that the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney tampered with at least one witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, by secretly communicating with Hutchinson without Hutchinson's attorney's knowledge. This secret communication with a witness is improper and likely violates 18 U.S.C. 1512. Such action is outside the due functioning of the legislative process and therefore not protected by the speech and debate clause, folks. Super First Amendment rights here. The Federal Bureau of Investigations must also investigate Representative Cheney for violating 18 USC 1622, which prohibits any person from procuring another person to commit perjury, which she most certainly did. Based on the evidence obtained by the subcommittee, Hutchinson committed perjury when she lied under oath to the Select Committee. Additionally, Hutchinson was interviewed by the FBI as part of its investigation into President Trump. The subcommittee sought a copy of the FBI Report 302 documenting this interview and Hutchinson's statement, but the FBI has refused to produce this vital document. Once again, I always talk about this. I'm going to interject here for a second. Can't stand the weaponization of our federal government under the Biden administration. And weaponization is all-encompassing, right? It's not just going after your political opponents, going after just Republicans a lot more than Democrats, right? It's also the lack of transparency. These people refuse transparency at any and every turn. Any subpoenas coming from the House, right, under Republicans, they will sit on and sit on and sit on and refuse until they have to bring it to court. Court orders them, and then they get a redacted version, and they're like, this is not what we asked for. And they got to go through this legal circus to get the information that they're supposed to get. I've covered story after story after story of the Biden administration just pretty much giving the finger to the Oversight Committee, right? We have co-equal branches of government in this country, right? You are not supposed to be above any other branch of government. If the Oversight Committee wants to do its job and oversee the federal government, you have to comply with their requests, unless it's going to jeopardize national security or something like that, right? But they have plans for this. Right? They can take certain congressmen and go into a SCIF, which is a secure intelligence room, where they can be debriefed on intelligence information, national security stuff here. And, then the congressman can come out and say, look, it's fine. Or, hey, look, we need to investigate this, whatever the case may be. Right? He might not be able to come out and tell us, but at least we can have our oversight. At least they will know, right? But the Biden administration just gives the finger to these people, and I can't stand that. And once again, I tell everybody this. If the Trump administration pulls the same crap, I'm going to be sitting right here doing exactly what I'm doing now, saying, Trump, what the hell is wrong with you? You need some transparency here. We need to open this thing up and see what's going on. Because lack of transparency, especially in the federal government, really pisses me off. The FBI must immediately review the testimony given by Hutchinson in this interview to determine if she lied in her FBI interview, and if so, the role former Representative Cheney played in investigating Hutchinson to radically change her testimony. Hutchinson was a witness before the J6 committee. She claimed that when then-President Donald Trump was leaving the Stop the Steal rally at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C., following his speech, he attempted to grab the steering wheel of the car that was driving him back to the White House. This testimony was debunked in March 2024 by the Secret Service agent who was driving the car, which Hutchinson was not actually in. The agent said, I did not see him reach. He never grabbed the steering wheel. I didn't see him, lunge to try to get into the front seat at all. What stood out was the irritation in his voice more than his physical presence. That agent said that Trump was pushing pretty hard to go to the Capitol, but did not corroborate Hutchinson's claim that he lunged for the wheel. In a House report from October, it was revealed that in the months prior to Hutchinson's explosive private and public testimony, Cheney communicated with Hutchinson both directly and through an intermediary, Elisa Farah Griffin, while Hutchinson was represented by her attorney, Stefan Passantino. The Select Committee conducted 6 transcribed interviews of Hutchinson in total. Passantino represented Hutchinson for the first 3 interviews. A text message from the report shows that Hutchinson's friend, Alyssa Farah Griffin, reached out to Liz and that she agreed to keep her out to keep our convo totally confidential. Sorry about that, y'all. Cheney, through Farrah Griffin, told Hutchinson that she admired her and could tell that Hutchinson wanted to do the right thing. Oh my goodness. Cheney was one of 2 Republicans appointed by then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to serve on the committee. Benny Thompson chaired the J6 committee. Then GOP leader Kevin McCarthy wanted to appoint Jim Jordan and Jim Banks to the committee, but when Pelosi refused to seat them, McCarthy said that the House Republicans would not participate in what appeared to be an entirely partisan undertaking. Cheney and then Rep. Adam Kinzinger, both opposed to Donald Trump, took part in the committee, and both had served their final terms in the House. Yeah, they were both primaried and booted right out for doing that. As a matter of fact, when, if these committees they're not bipartisan, in other words. When Kevin McCarthy said, I want these guys, they have to agree. Well, they don't have to agree to that, but if they want the committee to be a legit committee, they have to be a bipartisan committee. The minority leader, if you will, has to assign congressmen or women to whatever committee that is. If they do not, that makes that an illegitimate committee, right? So the J6 committee was an illegitimate committee with no subpoena power. As a matter of fact, an investigation from the House proved this. I covered this in an article like over a year ago. It was like one of my first articles I covered. Proved that the J6 committee was an illegitimate committee. What does that tell you about the J6 committee, y'all? But, the report also came to the conclusion that the events of J6 would have been preventable. That is right. They most certainly would have been preventable. And it's shocking that, well, it's not shocking, to be honest with you, that, Nancy Pelosi refused, National Guard, sorry. Took me a second to get that out. National Guard. You would figure that'd be something easy, would just roll right off the tongue. But every once in a while, I have trouble saying certain words. I don't know why. It's just every once in a while I can sit there and run my damn mouth and blah, 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 blah. But sometimes I'll just, and it's like I can't think of the word. It's aggravating as hell, y'all. But anyway. Right, so they make it look like it was a setup. With the revelation that we had all these informants in the crowd, Nancy Pelosi turning down National Guard, blah, 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 you name the evidence. And you got all the pipe bomb stuff. It's just crazy. But it makes it look like a setup. And then they wonder why people are out here conspiracizing about this thing, putting up all these theories about what happened, and it was a Fedsurrection. Right? There's a news website. I think it's Red State. I think. It might not be Red State. But that's what they call it, a Fedsurrection. Right? And I've read a couple of their news articles. There are some far right-wing, kind of Looney Tunes news organization, but, that's neither here nor there. But, they wonder why people are out here conspiracizing about this thing, because you look at all the evidence, right? And that's why they tried to hide evidence. That's why a lot of security tapes, as a matter of fact, they held security tapes. Jacob Chansley could have had his charges dismissed outright if the committees would have allowed the security video footage to be shown at his trial. They would not allow that evidence to be entered into the record during his trial, and he served prison time, and he was allowed into the Capitol. He was escorted around by police, went into the Senate chamber, and all kinds of stuff, right? Like, I'm sure everybody's seen those videos. Let me know down in the comments if you haven't. I might just post that on the channel, but it's crazy. The dude served jail time for nothing, for absolutely nothing. And then, you got the mainstream news over here talking about, oh, Donald Trump wants to pardon violent rioters. Nah, that's not true. A lot of those people are going to get pardons. But the vast majority of those people are nonviolent, peaceful protesters that got railroaded by the freaking government over January 6th. Now, you do have some of the people, and we've went over the numbers, that were violent, that, yeah, they deserve some sort of jail time. We need accountability for their actions. We can't be having a freaking riot at the Capitol. That's absurd. Outright. So we need some accountability. There needs to be consequences to those actions, right? Because we don't want that going on. However, I think they really stuck it to a lot of these people. There's people serving 10, 20, 22 years in one case for a guy that was not even at the Capitol, and all he did was send a text message to some more people saying, stay there. He got 22 years. Of course, there's some extenuating circumstances with that case. That's Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys. They had a seditious conspiracy going on, so, that is what it is. So, but 22 years for that's absurd to me. That is outright absurd when he wasn't even directly involved. It's just insane. You see just some of the violent people getting 10 years in prison for fighting with cops. Really, right? And here goes the whataboutism. So, what about the Summer of Love? Right? All these riots all across the country. A lot of those people were never arrested. The FBI didn't spend, at one point, 5% of its total budget on going after January 6th people. That's right. We covered that in an article 6-8 months ago. The FBI spent 5% of its budget for a pretty good amount of time going after January 6th defendants. That's insane. Now, they didn't spend anywhere near that, if anything at all, going after these violent rioters that stormed the White House on May 29th, 2020. Yeah, that was also an insurrection where almost the exact same amount of cops were injured. 140 police officers were injured. You get a little cut, that's an injury, folks. You get a little bruise, that's considered an injury. But they don't ever talk about May 29th, do they? They never talk about that, where the St. John's Church right across the street was caught on fire. They burned down a guard shack at the White House. They tried to storm the gates, and Secret Service finally got out there and, pushed them back. But that nobody ever talks about that. There was no May 29th committee. There was no May 29th investigation. None of that. Why not? Why the hell not? Oh, because Donald Trump was president. As a matter of fact, they did cover that a little bit. Just a little bit. They called Donald Trump Bunker Boy because Donald Trump was forced into a bunker because these violent rioters are trying to storm the White House. Nothing ever happened. 2 people went to jail over that. 2 people. Yeah, go look that up. That's insane, if you ask me. So, I really want some accountability for this. I think, you saw that, huh? I think we need to have some accountability going on with this. It's just insane what's happened to Republicans over this Biden administration. I say it all the time, folks. You might say it with me. Joe Biden is the worst president in United States history by far at this point. Selling off border wall. Like, what are you doing, dude? But I'm getting into crazy topics now, so I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section, because this just blows my mind. Oh, malfeasance by Liz Cheney. Yeah, John, I bet that pisses you off, don't it? But yeah, I'm not even going to get into that. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. I would greatly appreciate that. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.